Are you wanting to know what Orlando is like right now in 2023? In this video, I'm going to cover everything that's going on in Orlando, from theme parks and entertainment to cost of living to everything you need to know about how Orlando, Florida is right now, to give you all the information you need if you're looking to make that move, or it's just one of those options you're considering when coming to Florida. So obviously Orlando is a landlocked city in Central Florida. It has a lot going for it. A lot of things are going on. But it also, a lot of people seems to discredit it for being like only a city you go to on vacation during the winter months and things like that. But Orlando has a lot more to offer. I mean, I still hear stories, so I first came to Orlando, I think it was like, maybe like 2009, 2010. I think it's the first time I ever came to Orlando, and it was definitely not like it is now. A lot has changed during that time, and has always had a special place in my heart, even before our family officially moved here. But it's one of those cities that has a lot going for it. But it used to be just all orange groves, right? When Walt Disney first bought all the land out here, it was mainly orange groves. It was just farmland, right? And Orlando has grown to potentially to be a major contender, as they're really trying to be a tech city for the East Coast. I mean, a lot of companies are moving here. You have Lockheed Martin on top of all the tourist industry and things like that. But like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, things like that, they all have a major presence here in Orlando. So when it comes to jobs, there's a lot of opportunity between health, technology, things like that. There's probably more tech companies moving here than anything. And even with the craziness that's going on with obviously DeSantis and Disney is still in the process of moving to Lake Nona, as they're already still building their facility. I still have clients myself that are with Disney who are moving out here. And it's one of those things where, there are a lot of jobs moving to Orlando. I've had comments from people saying like, there's no jobs and things like that. Personally, there's more jobs than I've ever seen. Like, you just might suck and they have to do multiple jobs. Like, times are tough and it's hard. And no one likes it, and I do disagree with a lot of things that are being done, sure, like politically, in terms of like, inflation and all that stuff. But dude, it is what it is. And Orlando's one of those places that still has a lot of options. Tech cities. I mean, I see people that are not only maintaining their wages when coming here, but doing work from home from here now. Or they have, there's places where you can still afford to live near work, right? Like, I mean, I have a friend over in Phoenix, and he was working for a major, Fortune 500 company in their finance department. And in order to, even with his wage of like 80 grand a year, in order to afford, a decent home for his family, he had to live like, almost an hour away. And, Orlando is one of those places to where you don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, there are people who make good wages. Obviously, I will say the average minimum wage right now is about $11 an hour in Florida, and Orlando still has a lot of jobs that definitely do not pay what they should be for the local area. I can tell you, like, being in a lot of different places, a lot of different cities, talking to a lot of people right now, the whole country is just struggling. I mean, in Orlando, people need to understand, I think, when they come here, is that you're not necessarily going to save any money by moving to Orlando. It's not a city that just massively like cuts your costs. I will tell you that while you probably are going to spend the same amount of money in Orlando, the barrier to entry is lower. Meaning that if you're spending the same money you are in like another city that's more expensive, you're going to be getting more for your dollar here in Orlando than you would in a lot of other places. I firmly believe that. Obviously, average home price is about $360,000 for a basic house, starter level home. Rent for a one bedroom is anywhere between $1,200 outside the city, all the way up to $1,800 a month, depending on where you're living, like downtown, or unless you're going out in the suburbs, Lake Nona, St. Cloud, things like that. So it varies a lot, but it's still not the cheapest by any means. Rents hang around the national average, which isn't saying much nowadays. It's still expensive. It's still, honestly, Orlando's one of those cities where it's more advantageous to purchase, because rents, and depending where you're looking to live, like as long as you can qualify for a loan, like you're going to be saving money compared to that rent. And that's not necessarily the case in all cities. Orlando's one of those cities where I think that still holds true in terms of like just, rent to mortgage income, even with the rates being how they are. Now, what's going on around Orlando? So Orlando has, obviously, the entertainment industry is huge. Downtown has a lot of shops and restaurants and things like that are still going for it. You have Topgolf. Obviously, everyone knows the big ones, right? Like Walt Disney World, Universal, Legoland, SeaWorld. All of that still exists around the Orlando area. Obviously, that means there's huge tourism. So if you're in the tourist industry, travel industry, hey, this could be a great place. Maybe you're looking to start that vlog for Disney. I don't know what it is. But obviously Orlando is a place where you can do that. I know my wife has a lot of big ones that are here in Orlando, and she absolutely loves to watch them. She's obsessed with that stuff. Me, I'm more dedicated on helping people like yourself move to Orlando. So obviously you're watching this video. We drop videos for you every single week, and we specialize, being a licensed real estate agent with eXp here in Orlando is helping you make that move to Florida with you and your family and everything in between. So it's number popping up below is how you can get a hold of us. You can call, text, email, or you can even schedule a Zoom call down below if you just want to get straight to it and schedule that and get on my calendar to where we can help you build that plan when it comes to moving to Orlando and Florida in general, because there's a lot going on. When we moved to Orlando, there's a lot of things I did wrong, and I try and help you build that plan. It's what I specialize in. It's what I love to do. So if you want to reach out and talk about it, you can reach out to us. I answer. It's me, and I'm happy to help work through that plan with you. Now, obviously, when it comes to entertainment, Peppa Pig Land opened last year. Universal's expanding, building Minions, and all that other stuff. There's a lot of things going on. So if you're really obsessed with that, maybe you have kids like I do. I have 3 boys, right? And while I love to hunt and fish and do outdoor stuff, my wife loves to have that included in their life. In Orlando, hey, it's a great place to do that. You get the best of both worlds. So like I could drive a couple hours north, go hog hunting, things like that. I don't even have to go that far necessarily, but I can go up there, head North Florida, go hunting. Obviously, we're surrounded by water, whether it's lakes or ocean. Fishing is plentiful, and there's a lot of boat clubs if that's something you're into. There's even freedom charters. You can do boat tours, and you can get access to boats and docks for a monthly fee and things like that. There's a lot going on in Orlando that provides entertainment. But the one thing I love about Orlando right now is there's still a lot of side attractions that are just really affordable. Dino Land in Plant City. Heading east of Orlando, there are like a lot of nature preserves and things like that where they have alligators and animals, exotic animals that they've rescued that you can just go walk around with. Like the family that runs that is awesome. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. Like always, if you're watching this videos long enough, you know that I always forget that name, which is sad because I don't know what it is. But there's a lot of opportunities here in Orlando to you don't have to spend money on those big things. Like there's so much you can do. I gotta tell everyone, like my favorite story, and it's because like it just holds such a near and dear place in my heart, is when we traveled to Clearwater Beach in Tampa for the weekend. When we first came out here, my wife, like she grew up in the Pacific Ocean, and it's just cold all the time year round. And I'm like, you have to go to the beaches here. Took her to Clearwater, obviously trying to knock her socks off. Halfway through that day, it thunderstormed like it does every summer in Florida. And I'm like, well, okay, well, that's unfortunate. This is kind of ruined. But they were like, you know what? We're here on vacation anyways. We were already looking. We took a break from looking around where we're going to live in Orlando. We went to a condo, the Marriott, like $150 for a night. And we got a whole suite, like a 2-bedroom suite, right, overlooking Clearwater Bay. In San Diego, getting that same experience beforehand, we would have spent like $500 for a night, and it would have been that great. You got free access to a trolley that took you all around Clearwater. We got to talk to locals and get some real good food, like not where the tourists go, but like the back alley places where you should go. God, it just like there's so much to do from Orlando that you can even travel to, not even just in Orlando. Orlando already has so much to offer and now has otherwhere. Obviously, Orlando is just an ever increasing like diversity city. I mean, I'm not getting too deep in the weeds, right? But like being a veteran, having people from all walks of life that I've experienced in my life, like Orlando's one of those cities. If my wife is, Bolivian, like there's just so much to offer in the city. Like there's just so much to offer. I mean, from flea markets to festivals, to culture events, arts events. Like there's just a lot going on in the city culturally. And I love it. It's just a huge mosh posh of like just different things going on. And I love it. So it's one of those cities to where if you were looking to just for a well-rounded life, like it's just a good place to have a foundation, right? And we've even talked about maybe buying a place back in California for like a month vacation or whatever and renting it out when we're not there. Like, look, Orlando, having Orlando as whatever you're trying to do in your life, having Orlando as like the base of where you can kind of build your foundation in your life. Like that's what I love about this city. And it kind of blows me away because when my wife first like brought this up of moving to Orlando, I'm like, I've been there. Like, I don't know. Right. But even in like the 10, 12 years, like the difference from the last time I was in Orlando to when we started looking out here to move, I was blown away. There's a lot going on, a lot of cultural stuff. Tourism's building, like the economy in Orlando is going well. A lot of jobs are moving here. Sure. The inflation's crazy. Like, look, people always will get mad in the comments and attack me because like it's expensive. Yeah, no kidding. The whole country's crazy. We're not even gonna get into how I feel about how the country is kind of falling apart. But hey, you're probably if you're looking at this from moving, it's because you're looking to build that better life. By the way, you can reach out and give me a call or text if you're looking to build that better life, because I specialize in making sure that you build the right plan, because doing the wrong thing, just one bad thing, can just hate your experience when moving here, and no one wants that. Obviously, a lot going on. So like, I think the one thing I love about being on the East Coast is the history. Right. And while Orlando does have a lot of history, like any East Coast place would have, generally it's not, I wouldn't say like the oldest city, right? Like it's definitely, in the last 50 years expanded a lot, but it's not like some cities. But Florida in general, right? Like if you're living in Orlando, you have so much to go for cities. You can go to the NASA Space Center. Obviously, Orlando has museums like any other city. And there's just so much culture. There's so much happening on the East Coast. Like living in the West Coast before this, West Coast has history, but not like the East Coast, right? Like I love my Civil War history. I love my like oldest building still standing in the United States. I think it's in Sarasota, or no, St. Augustine. It's in St. Augustine. There's so much to offer here in Florida that you can go visit and take family vacations. I honestly am wondering when our family is going to get bored of anything, because there's just so much to see and do. I probably could fill my entire kid's 18-year life just trying to explore everything in this state alone. So it's awesome. I absolutely love it. And I really encourage everyone to kind of consider Orlando as an option when it comes to being out here. Obviously, I went over the cost of living. I will tell people right now, wherever you're living with groceries, that's what you can probably expect to still pay in Orlando. So Orlando's one of those cities. I didn't see much of a difference in our grocery bill when we moved out here, but certain things are cheaper, right? Citrus is gonna be a little bit cheaper. It's grown here in Florida. Obviously, if you're coming from like, somewhere that a state that borders Mexico, avocados are gonna be a little more expensive here than you're used to, because they're just having to ship them farther. Like lettuce and cold weather vegetables gonna be a little bit more. Like that's like anywhere. Like certain vegetables are gonna be cheaper. Citrus is a little more expensive when you go to northern states, things like that, right? But so that's the only thing really difference in Orlando. But I will tell you, if you love eating out, you'll find it's a little bit cheaper depending where you're coming from, right? Like I came from like California before this, right? I'm from New York originally, came from California before this. States are expensive, and I always had to deal with expensive eating out. Orlando's not necessarily cheaper. Like you can go to a 5-star restaurant, but generally you're going to be spending a little bit less on eating out than you normally would. That's not saying much, because obviously right now, like even McDonald's is like a 4-star meal at this point. So, and then I just wanted to cover like things that are what's coming to Orlando, right? Like if you're looking to move here and you're kind of wondering like, okay, Cameron, this is all well and good, but what's coming to Orlando? Like what are things to get me excited when it comes to moving there? Obviously, I have a list of things right now. Tron World, Magic Kingdom, it's coming this year, I believe, is when they're supposed to open it. Minions Land, Universal. Hey, I love Universal. Disney, it's all right. I'm not super. Obviously, Disney's finalizing the move to Lake Nona. So maybe if you're looking to be Imagineer and things like that in the coming decade, they will all be moving Disney completely to Florida, because hey, California is just crazy tax-wise, and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I can tell you, this is a good and bad thing, but obviously a lot of people are moving to Orlando every single year, and it doesn't look like 2023 is going to be any different. I'll tell you that as states like California look to do mild taxes and all this crazy stuff, just further like separating the people who are struggling to just struggle more, but paying more and more taxes. States like Florida have like tax holidays. There's things going on here. Like, is it perfect? Absolutely not. I don't like taxes at all, but hey, it is what it is. But when it comes down to Orlando, like you don't pay income tax, and a lot of things are better here than would be in other states. Not to say that it can't change, so always be on the lookout for that. But as it stands right now, with states like California, heck, even Texas gets a little crazy with some things. People are looking to move to Florida and Orlando. That's a good and bad thing. Obviously, the traffic in Orlando, I swear it gets worse every year. Like every major metro gets worse and worse every year. But the one thing I love about Orlando is, you're like me, you don't really like people that much. Like when you see people, it depletes you. You want to get your time away. There's a lot of towns and places around Orlando when you get outside the city that you can kind of live and you feel tucked away. You don't have to live in the craziness of like all in your celebration and all that stuff. All that craziness, like you don't have to live there. There are towns that are still near everything that just are tucked away to where you're like, wow, I feel like I'm living in my own little community. A lot of opportunity like that here in Orlando without having to drive super far if you have the budget for it. So that's how Orlando is right now, right? Things are changing. Like there's obviously the entertainment industry ever increasing, cost of living rising like the rest of the country, but there's still a lot more opportunity here than I would argue in a lot of other places, right? If you get a condo in like places like LA, San Diego, you're probably looking at a full home here for that same price if you can afford it. So there's a lot of chances here in Orlando, and right now in the foreseeable future, it's just ever more increasing to be a great place to live. Especially if you have kids. I mean, me and my wife are blown away. Like, yeah, people try and bring up hurricanes, but I'm like, you don't understand. Like, when we get here and like the amount of opportunity between like school options for my boys, right? Like, I'm not a huge fan of like, many options. I love having flexibility for school options. To like the amount of things and activities I can do with my boys. Like, it is so much more well-rounded than where we came from in California. Now, people like that and hate that statement. That's just how I feel. It's just how we feel for our family. We have a certain direction I want for my boys. And being here in Orlando, it just gives so much opportunity, so much chances to just have a great life in maintaining budget, but also at the same time where there's still opportunities to make a good wage here, right? To build up a career, especially if you're younger. You want to build up a career and, you know, have that lifestyle that's still here. If you're moving from another state, the one thing I love about Orlando, we have an international airport here. So if you're looking at, flights are still expensive right now, but if you're looking for the best price flights for the time, Orlando always has them because all airliners come to Orlando and there's always more being created every single year because Orlando is such a huge entertainment area that if you want to bring family here or you want to travel to family, it's a lot easier to do that than say if you were in Tampa or Jacksonville, right? You can still do it, but you might have to make that extra stop. Or Orlando, depending where you're coming from, you probably can get a lot of options for nonstop flights, which I love. Right? Especially having kids. You just want to get it done with. One leg, boom, get it done with. So obviously that's what's going on in Orlando. There's a lot more things going on. I could get in laws and rules and taxes and all that stuff. But overall, I just wanted to give a general overview of what it's like living in Orlando right now in 2023. If you're looking to make that move and you're looking to create a plan or do some real estate decision, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me and the team. Call, text, email, or you can jump to the front of the line, schedule that Zoom call down below. I love having conversations with people like yourself who are looking to make that move, who just don't know all the information, whether it's like public schools, or things like that. Also, I don't really call it out too much, but we also have a website in the description below to kind of give you more information about living in Orlando, take you some resources about, you know, buying a home, selling a home, or just all that in between, including public school locations, where to find like public school ratings and things like that are all public knowledge. And I try and just build that out to help you. And if you have any direct questions, you can always just comment down below. I am always reaching out. It's me directly when I get a chance to get in there every day. I answer your comments and your questions. And hey, who knows? You might actually create the next video to help people like yourself when it comes to moving to Orlando. So I hope you got value in this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.